Let's go. Let's go. I killed the entire team in one clip.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? It's MrMooMan11 here. In today's video, I'm going to go over the custom classes I use for League play in Call of Duty Black Ops 2. And one thing to keep in mind throughout this video is that I do have a different playstyle than a lot of other competitive players in the community, so although these classes may work well for me, they're not suited for everyone. With that said, let's get right into the first custom class on the S&D class set. This is the main class I use in Search and Destroy because of its great versatility. The primary weapon is none other than the trusty old M8. I've got the adjustable stock, reflex sight, and FMJ on as attachments. This is the only class I run primary gunfighter on since it's taking up valuable slots in the Pick 10 system. The adjustable stock is important to have to stay mobile when strafing enemies and moving towards objectives while aimed down sights. The reflex sight helps you hone in your accuracy on a target while providing a slight amount of zoom, and FMJ is good for picking off those targets that are camping behind a wall or move into cover during a gunfight. For my secondary, I'm running the Cap 40 because it can be more powerful than many SMGs in close quarters, and in S&D it's important to be able to rely on your secondary, especially when you know multiple enemies are surrounding you. Plus, when you find yourself put into a 1v4 situation like I always seem to be put in, thanks teammates, being able to effectively control and monitor your ammo count on both your primary and secondary weapon can mean the difference between winning or losing just one gunfight, or even winning or losing the entire round. As you see in this clip alone, as soon as it's a 1v4, the enemy players become more aggressive and tend to push up too far, even if they're on defense. This works to your advantage if you can keep a level head. As soon as you kill one enemy, the rest of their team instantly knows where you are on the map and usually come to that position. That's where the perks I'm running come in handy. The most valuable perk you can have for S&D is awareness. Without it, listening for enemies can become quite a challenge or even impossible if they're using dead silence. Using this perk, I was able to hear this last guy and kill him before he even got a shot off. But just because awareness is so important doesn't mean the other two aren't necessary as well. Flak Jacket is a must-have to avoid explosive damage. Dying from a well-timed nade or even a random nade can cost your team an entire round or worse. Toughness is essential for longer range gunfights, and oftentimes in a fight between two equally matched players, the one with toughness will come out on top. The concussion grenade is helpful in some situations like you saw in this clip, but it can be substituted for a different tactical or lethal if you want. That wraps it up for our first custom class, so now we'll move on to our second. I don't use this class too often, especially if we're going against tryhards, but it is a fun class to mess around with if you're going up against irons or bronzes. What I do like about this class is its ability to switch from long-range gunfights to close-quarter ones in an instant. The DSR-MSMC combo is pretty difficult to counter, especially if your accuracy is good, and the dual-band scope is nice for seeing people who are in dark corners of the map or just to provide some contrast, as well as FMJ is good for finishing off a target that you get a hit marker on and then they go into cover. The only thing different about the perks is Fast Hands, and this can be switched out for toughness if you want, but Fast Hands is great for the immediate weapon swap if you hear someone coming out from behind. My third custom class here is very similar to the first class. Although they are similar, they do have different purposes. The first class is an all-around great class to use against regular League players on S&D. This class, on the other hand, is for League players like me, who like to run awareness. I swapped out primary gunfighter and FMJ for perk 3 Greed and Dead Silence. Dead Silence is a good counter to awareness, but it's not perfect. As soon as you get within 10 feet of an enemy player using awareness, they can hear you even if you have on Dead Silence. The only true counter to awareness is crouching. Although you can't hear someone crouching, it takes much longer to move around the map, so Dead Silence helps you get closer to the enemy before they can hear you, and then you can start crouching. And although it says my perk 1 is lightweight, it should actually be Flak Jacket, I just didn't catch this when I made this recording. My fourth custom class here is another one I don't break out too often, but it's still a great class. The only downside to using this class is when you're facing a decent team with assault rifles. In Search and Destroy, the AR is the dominant weapon of choice since it's inherently a slower paced game mode and there's less run and gunning. I have on Long Barrel to tackle the issue of facing enemies with ARs at a longer distance, and Dead Silence so I can get closer to the enemies before they hear me. My fifth and final S&D class is one I usually only use if we are facing a really good team, or if one or more of the enemy players is using an MMS sight. There are several major differences about this class, and the first is the weapon of choice, the AN-94. Although I really like using the M8, it's less suitable for the type of gameplay that goes on with using a millimeter scanner. Many times you'll be scanning targets through walls, and since it only scans up to 40 meters, more of your gunfights are going to be close range ones. Therefore, using a fully automatic weapon like the AN-94 or the SCAR is more likely to get you the kill when close range accuracy is less important. And that wraps it up for our Search and Destroy classes, so now let's get on to our respawn ones. His first MSMC class is great for making aggressive opening moves in both hardpoint and capture the flag, Extreme conditioning will help you get to your target faster, and dexterity will make it possible to start firing immediately if you run across another player running a similar class. The quick draw handle will help you bring up your sights faster, which will also give you an edge over an enemy. I switch out between grip and long barrel as my second attachment, it just really comes down to preference. Again, I'm running flakjack and toughness since they're pretty handy, and I also still have the cap as my secondary for those situations when I run out of ammo with my primary. My second class in the respawn class set is identical to my first class in the S&D class set. This serves two purposes. The first reason is that it's a really good all-around class you can use to anchor and hardpoint and defend well with in CTF, and the second reason is because sometimes you forget to change your class set from respawn to S&D during the 15-second countdown in the pre-game lobby. Many times I'll be checking the enemy players to make sure they aren't going to boot us off the line, and I'll forget to switch my classes. This way, I have at least one class I know I can do well with in S&D if that situation arises. One problem you may run into is an enemy team that relies heavily on flash or concussion grenades. With this class, you are vulnerable to those tacticals. However, if you play smart, you can still come out on top. That being said, it is still really annoying to spend half the game concussed. That's where this class comes in handy. Again, I've gotten rid of the primary gunfighter wildcard and replaced it with perk 3 greed. Tactical mass can be really beneficial in some situations, but in the majority of games it's just not necessary, especially for a class with an AR, assuming you are not the primary one holding down or running the objectives. However, in very close games like the one in this clip, tac mass actually saved us the game. In the final 20 seconds we were down more than 10 points, and as you can see the enemy team was throwing multiple concussion grenades. If I didn't have tac mask on, I would have been concussed and unable to kill those last few people, which would have cost us the victory. Like my S&D class set, this sniping class is one I don't often use unless I'm going up against a really bad team. Instead of the DSR, I use the SVU on respawn game mode since it's much faster paced and you can't afford to miss the first shot on the DSR, but you can with the SVU. Since the spawns flip pretty regularly on hardpoint, I would definitely recommend fast hands and awareness so you can hear the enemies coming and be able to quickly respond with your secondary MSMC. I'm running double concussions, but you can switch those out for anything else you want. I've played games against enemy teams using thermal LMGs, and this class is really good for seeing them through smoke and quickly picking them off. This last class is both a fun and functional class. Although it gives you less mobility compared to the first class, it makes up for it in being able to tell where the enemies are coming from while still giving you the close range stopping power provided by the PDW, or you can even switch it out for a Scorpion. This class is great for getting to objectives and holding them down once you get there. Dexterity and Quick Draw give you the instantaneous response necessary to take down targets right in front of you, while Awareness lets you hear and prepare for approaching enemies. The accuracy on the PDW is somewhat low, so a foregrip is definitely recommended, but with its high ammo capacity, it is possible to kill the entire enemy team in one clip, like you saw at the beginning of the video. All in all, it's just a great and fun class. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that wraps it up for my League Play custom classes. I hope you enjoyed the video and maybe learned a thing or two while you watched. And if you've got any questions, feel free to leave a comment. And if you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. And for those of you that don't know, I also have a Twitch live stream that goes live every night, usually around 8 p.m. Central Time. Hope to see you all there. As always, have a fantastic day.